What's going on, guys? Sticks here from the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today I'm bringing you a deck centered around Lunala-GX. And before I get into the deck, just a reminder that if you guys like this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, and maybe subscribe. It really does help us out a lot and lets us do more for you guys. And as for the question of the day, Lunala will be the last, well, I guess there was technically only two, the last title legendary that we do a deck around. I mean, like I said, only two, so it really wasn't that difficult to do all of them. But my question of the day comes from the fact that it is a legendary, and which legendary from Sun and Moon would you guys like to see get a print in the TCG, and of what kind? Honestly, if you had to ask me, I would say that, really, I just want to see what they do with the Tapus. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think the Ultra Beasts as GXs could be really, really awesome. I'm curious to see what they do with Necrozma, because I can see them doing something really powerful, just completely obsolete. But I'm most interested in the Tapus simply because I want to see how they implement their abilities in-game into the TCG. And if you guys don't play the video game, what all the Tapus have is like Grassy Surge, Psychic Surge, Electric Surge, and then I think it's Misty Surge is the one for Tapu Fini. I could be wrong, but I think it's Misty Surge. But either way, whenever any of them are sent onto the field, they set up a terrain which boosts or reduces moves and then has added effects. Really, it's just like it's all specific to that Pokemon and that type. And I'm really, really interested to see how they implement that into the TCG, because I think that it could be really cool to have some kind of stadium-like effect where you get like a boost to lightning moves if a Tapu Koko is on the bench, or a boost to grass moves, or a reduction to fighting moves if Tapu Bulu is on the bench or active or whatever. Really, I just want to see how those guys are implemented into the TCG, and if the TCG decides to do anything with their surge abilities. I mean, I think that could be a really, really cool mechanic that could change up a lot of things and make certain decks a lot more powerful and really hinder the power of a lot of other decks. So let me know which legendary Pokemon from Sun and Moon you guys would like to see get prints in the TCG, and what kind and why. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. But anyway, on to the actual deck. Like I said, this is centered around Lunala-GX, 250 HP, so incredibly bulky, with the Psychic Transfer ability, which is what this deck is going to be centered around. As often as you like, during your turn, you may move a Psychic Energy from one of your Pokemon to another of your Pokemon. So basically, I mean, it really is what it sounds like. You just move Psychic Energy around to whatever Pokemon you want, and yeah, that's how it works. Its attack is okay. It's not particularly good. Moongeist Beam, 120 damage, and the defending Pokemon can't be healed during your opponent's next turn. So, I mean, that's cool against, like, water decks to be able to take one-hit knockouts, but really, I don't see Moongeist Beam being overly used or overly powerful. However, its GX attack is really cool. Lunar Fall GX, knock out one of your opponent's basic Pokemon that isn't a Pokemon GX. This would be a really, really cool attack if they didn't exclude GXs. I mean, right now it's not a big deal because EXs are still in the format, and you're able to just be like, oh, I want to knock out an EX instead of a GX. That's fine. But once EXs get rotated out, this attack will be much, much worse because it's only a guaranteed single prize. I mean, that's all it will get you. And other GX attacks are like delete a Pokemon, like they do 200 damage plus, or have potential to do a ton of damage to where they can knock out a GX, so it'll be two prizes. Lunar Fall, I just think, is rather mediocre in a meta that is becoming more and more GX centric, and we can see that the entire TCG is going to be focused on GXs. Right now, this attack is good because you can knock out an EX with it. But later, once EXs are rotated out, I think Lunar Fall GX will be pretty mediocre and not used all that much. And honestly, speaking of mediocre, if I'm being honest, this deck right now is pretty mediocre. I think that this deck really does need the new set to come out where it will get a stadium that allows Psychic Pokemon to have 2 less retreat, and also it will get the Baby Lunala, which has Mewtwo Shatter Shot attack, but instead of 30 damage per Psychic Energy, it's 40 damage per Psychic Energy. So really, I think that this deck really does need the new set to come out in order to be most effective, but this is a new toy, and who doesn't love using a new toy as soon as it comes out? So I decided, screw it, I'm just going to go with a deck that is built as best as it can around Lunala, and we'll go from there. So really, Psychic is missing a lot of the cards that make it particularly good. I mean, Dimension Valley, that's gone. Mystery Energy that would help with the retreat to where we wouldn't need that Psychic Stadium, that's gone too. So really, Psychic does not have a lot of support right now. And again, once a new set comes out, I think this deck will be a lot better. But for right now, Psychic has very, very limited amounts of support. So I built this as best I could to try to make this deck work as best I could. But obviously, it's going to be centered around Lunala doing damage, and the main partner we are putting it with is Mewtwo-EX. I tried a Mega Mewtwo variant just because Psychic Infinity does more damage. However, I found that regular Mewtwo was just a lot less clunky, and you could get a lot more energies out quicker. Don't get me wrong, this deck is not very competitive, but it's still a cool deck, and it's still very fun once you can get it going. But yeah, Mega Mewtwo, well, not Mega Mewtwo, regular Mewtwo will be the main attacker, with Shatter Shot doing 30 times the number of Psychic Energy attached to this Pokemon, so the obvious synergy with Lunala is moving the Psychic Energy around to have the exact amount that you need to be able to take knockouts and then damage change. Switch all damage counters on this Pokemon with those of your opponent's active Pokemon. That's another way of healing along with Max Potion. So really just kind of a cool idea that I tried to get working, and it does work if you're able to get it set up. As for the rest of the Pokemon, running one Lugia-GX because of Air Ball, and also Deep Hurricane. Deep Hurricane can definitely be used because Lugia functions completely off of regular energy, and Deep Hurricane actually has a pretty cool synergy with this deck, because obviously we're running Parallel City, and you can't counter Parallel City with Parallel City, so if your opponent plays one down, you're kind of SOL. However, Lugia uses Deep Hurricane, does 150 damage, and then you can discard the stadium that's in play. So that's one way to get rid of your opponent's Parallel City to be able to play your own. Another way is obviously Delinquent, which we are playing, but Lugia, basically Aeroball and Deep Hurricane, good attacks if you can get the appropriate amount of energy on there. Running 2 Shaymin for draw support just because Shaymin is... Shaymin's Shaymin, you guys already know this. 2-1-2 of Cosmog through Lunala, just because even though Lunala is what this deck is centered around, it's a support Pokemon, it's not going to be attacking, so we really don't need that heavy of a line. And so the 2-1-2 does suffice to be able to use Lunala for what you want to use it for. We're also running one Hoopa-EX, or not Hoopa-EX, one Hoopa as our non-EX attacker. Hyperspace Punch for 1 energy, does 20 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. It's kind of cool to be able to spread damage around. And then Portal Strike, 3 Psychic Energy. Normally you never use this with Hoopa, but with Lunala being able to move Psychic Energy around, you're able to use this a lot more. And 130 actually hits for a pretty magic number, so that's really nice. And then also, if you slap a Fighting Fury Belt on it, it has 170 HP. It gets a lot more bulky. So yeah, Hoopa is just to spread damage around, make numbers easier for Shatter Shot, and then also to Portal Strike if you find yourself in that situation. Then obviously, like I said, main attacker is Shatter Shot Mewtwo. As for the items, we are running 1 Level Ball to help get a Cosmog or Cosmoem, depending upon the situation. 4 Max Elixir as our means of accelerating energy. Like I said, Psychic does not have a lot of love in this current meta, so we're using Max Elixir as really our only means of acceleration and getting more than 1 attachment per turn. So it's a little unfortunate that we have to rely on that in that way. However, Max Elixir, depending on whether or not you hit it, can more than make up for the fact that you only get 1 attachment per turn. We're also running 2 Max Potion. Ooh, my trade's complete. It kind of has the cool synergy with the Psychic Transfer. You put a Mewtwo out there with a Fighting Fury Belt that has 210 HP, hit something for a heavy Shatter Shot, your opponent responds, unable to knock out the Mewtwo, you move all the energy off, Max Potion Mewtwo up, and then move all the energy back on, and guess what? You have a fresh Mewtwo. So Max Potion really is great and has synergy with anything that can move energy around. Running 2 Rare Candy to evolve immediately from a Cosmog into a Lunala, 1 Super Rod in case we have to discard too many Psychic Energy, discard both of our Lunala early or something like that. Just basically, if we overextend or have to get rid of stuff that we would like to use later, Super Rod helps us get back some of our resources. one switch. Again, Psychic does not have the ability to have free retreat. If it had Mystery Energy or Altar of the Moon, which is coming out in the new set, then this deck would be so much better. However, there's really no way to naturally retreat. Well, there's no way to get good retreat costs because, I mean, Mewtwo has 2, Hoopa has 2, Lunala has 2, Lugia has 2. All of these guys have relatively expensive retreat costs that you don't want to pay with your Psychic Energy. So we're needing to run a couple Float Stones and a switch in order to be able to switch out if we need to. I mean, again, this deck needs Mystery Energy or Altar of the Moon, just something to give free retreat that would make this deck so much better. But unfortunately, we have to rely on these guys for now. 4 Trainers Mail to help with consistency. Just look at the top 4 cards, grab something you want. 4 Ultra Ball to guaranteed get what we want when we want. 4 via Seeker to reuse all of our supporters. Then as for the supporters, you have just the generic 4-2 of N and Sycamore for draw support, 2 Lysandre because Lysandre is amazing, and then 1 Delinquent to do kind of the same thing as Lugia, but allow you to play your stadium in the same turn. Basically just discard whatever stadium's in play, make your opponent discard 3 cards from your hand, and it allows you to play your own Parallel City. This card is used less for this card is used less for the disruption and more for the just get rid of a Parallel City that is affecting us negatively. As for the tools, running 3 Fighting Fury Belt to give longevity to whichever attacker we decide to go with, 2 Float Stone to help with the unfortunate retreat costs that we have to deal with in this deck, and then 10 Psychic Energy. That way you have a 1 in 6 chance of it being in 6 cards of your deck, so that way Max Elixir can hopefully be used to maximum effectiveness. So yeah, this is the deck. Like I said, it's pretty mediocre and will get a lot better when the new set comes out, but in the meantime, everybody loves trying out a new toy, so let's just go ahead and see this deck in action. Alrighty, we have found one against La1212 with a electric, fire, water, and psychic deck, so that's pretty cool. Wondering what my opponent is running, actually. I mean, depending on the psychic, it looks kind of like an Evolutions deck, at which point the Espeon will be a pretty big problem for this deck, especially if I mulligan. But we do get to go first, so that is nice at the very least. Hopefully I can get something set up, something going, and I always forget to put the sleeves on the cards. Whatever. Oh well. That is... Oh, I actually get some pretty good stuff to start off with, because what I can do... I mean, I start off with the Mewtwo, which is kind of what I want to start off with. Actually, Hoopa would probably be the most ideal starter. However, Mewtwo is not a bad starter. I even get a Cosmoem. That is fine. What I am going to do is Ultra Ball, get rid of the N and the Cosmoem, because I'm going to rely on the rare candy to get me a turn 2 Lunala in this case. Go ahead and play the Psychic Energy onto the Mewtwo. Maybe. Please. I'd like to play the Psychic Energy. There we go. And then Max Elixir onto the Cosmog. That is completely fine in this deck because I'm going to be moving that around anyway. And then the mulligan card that my opponent got is now gone because I am just going to go ahead and get rid of my opponent's hand and go from there. So pretty solid start overall. I get a couple Float Stones, which I can definitely work with. Do I want to play another Cosmog down? I don't think so. Yeah, because all I need is 1 Lunala, and it's not in danger of getting knocked out this turn. If my opponent tries to attack it, then... Well, actually, Psyduck can't knock it out this turn. So this is a Golduck Evolutions deck, which is really, really cool. Psyduck will not be able to knock out my Cosmog this turn, so I won't have to worry about it. My opponent does go for the Confusion Wave, which will buy him a turn, unfortunately. So what I am just going to do is play the Float Stone onto the Mewtwo because I feel like I'm going to have to retreat that guy. Well, I'm going to retreat it if I want to attack this turn. I'm going to play the other Cosmog just in case. Like, in case something weird happens. And, oh, this is beautiful. This is an absolutely gorgeous hand because what I can do is immediately Rare Candy up into a Lunala and move all the energy onto my other Mewtwo. And I can even Ultra Ball, get rid of the Mail and the Lugia to grab a Shaymin, get 6 more cards. I mean, this turned into an absolutely terrific start for this deck. I mean, this is exactly how you want to start. Turn 2 Lunala. I'll even be able to get another Mewtwo with a Fighting Fury Belt up, get rid of that confusion, play the other Mewtwo down, play the Fighting Fury Belt, I mean, I'll be able to knock out the side. I play the Trainers Mail, see if what I can get. I was going to grab the other Max Elixir to see if I can get set up even more, and that's... I've been playing with this deck for a while, and this is what I always encounter. I either get set up really early and my opponent forfeits immediately, or I get absolutely trucked to where I can't even get set up. So I'm going to try to get good matches with this deck, but that one showed you exactly how I was supposed to get set up, but obviously wasn't a good match. So, you know what, let's just go ahead and try to find another one. Hopefully one that's a little bit longer than like 1.5 turns. Alrighty, we have found another one against Stalpno with a, looks like a Volcanion deck. So considering I just got crushed by a Volcanion deck when I was testing with this deck earlier, let's see how this goes. We do get to go first, which can be good, can also be very, very bad, considering Cosmog can get one-shot by a Volcanion with a Fighting Fairy Belt and 1 Steam Up, which really isn't that outlandish at all. And wow, my opponent starts off with 6 fire energy. That is ridiculous. I mean, yes, it does happen. Theoretically, I could have started with 7 psychic energy, but that's just, the odds of that are so astronomically low that that's just not something that you see happening. My opening hand is pretty solid. I mean, I'll be able to get some stuff out, probably Ultra Ball for a Cosmog. And yes, I would like another prize. Oh, even better, so I don't have to Ultra Ball for it. I can just Level Ball for it and then Ultra Ball for a Mewtwo. So what I am going to do, play the Hoopa down, go ahead and Level Ball for a Cosmog. Both of my Lunala are in the deck. That is great. I had a match before where both Lunala were prized, and I was like, well, nothing I can do about that one. Ultra Ball, probably... You know what? I hate to do this, but because my opponent only has a hand of 3... I don't want to give them a fresh hand of 6, because even though they probably have a supporter in there, I want to make them waste their supporter early and not be able to get stuff going, then play a supporter, then get more stuff going. I want to make them use their supporter if they want a new hand. So I am going to discard the rare candy, which is unfortunate, not something I like to do. Play the Float Stone onto the Hoopa Sycamore for a brand new hand, and okay, this is nice. What I am going to do is immediately play the Psychic Energy, I think, onto the Mewtwo. No, the Lugia is better because if my opponent wants to try to get the Flareon powered up, I'm going to have a lot of damage on it anyway. Well, I'm going to be able to get a lot of damage with the X-Ball. And, ooh, yeah, the Fighting Fury Belt is much nicer than the Max Potion or anything like that. I am going to go ahead and Max Elixir. I hit that. So I have 2 energy on board. That is pretty nice. Do I want to play another Cosmog? Yes, I do, because I want to get 4 more cards off of the Shaymin, hopefully draw into a rare candy or something like that. Hit a Max Elixir, that's fine too. Get another energy on board. And yeah, this was a very, very explosive turn 1. My opponent can't even target down my Cosmogs because I have 2 of them down, and there's no way for Volcanion to take 4 prizes, or 2... What am I? Okay. There's no way for Volcanion to take 2 knockouts in 1 turn, unless there's something that I'm completely forgetting about. And okay, my opponent goes ahead, plays a Max Elixir, does not hit it, luckily, and then Ultra Balls for a Shaymin. So, I mean, my opponent gets a fresh hand of 6 cards anyway, but at least in this case, I made them already waste a Shaymin and Ultra Ball some good stuff away. Do see the Fighting Fairy Belt onto the Flareon, that is fine. I will just start X-Balling that thing as soon as I possibly can. I mean, I'll be able to guarantee get an X-Ball next turn. I'm going to Sycamore away my hand, hopefully get a rare candy and a Lunala, but my opponent just forfeits. Okay, so once again, we get set up very well, and my opponent just forfeits before I'm able to do anything with it. So very, very unfortunate that that happened, but I'm determined to get a good match with this deck. It's going to happen. Just please bear with me on this. Alrighty, we have found another one against Freddy MI with a fire deck, so I'm actually really interested to see what he is running, because usually with fire decks there's water coupled with it, and that way you know it's Volcanion, but this is just a straight fire deck, so I mean, it might be Incineroar or GX, which would be pretty cool. We do win the coin flip, so we will get to go first, and hopefully, okay, I mean, this isn't bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. I will be able to get a Float Stone and an energy onto Hoopa. I'll be able to Sycamore for a brand new hand. Hopefully Trainer's Mail for like an Ultra Ball or a Level Ball or something to get a Cosmog up and going. So, yeah, we'll see what's going on. I even draw into an Ultra Ball immediately. Let's go ahead and get rid of the Sycamore and the... Do I want to get rid of the rare candy? Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Go ahead and grab myself a Cosmog. That way I can hopefully get one or get something next turn, and then I Trainers Mail for absolutely nothing. So I will be able to have a 0-card Sycamore. I'm actually going to play the Float Stone onto the Cosmog because I'm just going to kind of let the Hoopa go down at this point. And we see Talonflame Volcanion, so this might be a Talonflame break deck, which would be pretty cool. I get a Mewtwo, I go Trainers Mail, get an Ultra Ball, so I will be able to get a Lunala up turn 2, which will be phenomenal. I'm not going to use the Ultra Ball just yet, just because, I mean, if I... Well, I want to have outs to grab a Lunala in case my opponent ends my hand away. If I use the Ultra Ball now, that'll be Ultra Ball that I won't have later, in case I draw into another combination of Rare Candy and Ultra Ball. So basically, I just want to give myself the best odds of getting a Lunala turn 2, given any scenario. So my opponent will be able to actually end me turn 1, which is a bit... Or not end me, he will be able to Arrow Blitz turn 1. I was looking at my hand. We'll be able to Arrow Blitz turn 1, which is exactly what you want. But luckily, N will come through very, very clutch for me, because I'll be able to discard... Or not discard. I'll be able to shuffle all the cards back into my opponent's deck, and hopefully he won't draw into the 2 cards that he searched for, or he won't be able to draw into a similar combination of cards that allowed him to get as good of a hand as he did with that 2-card Arrow Blitz. And my opponent fills up his bench already. Alright, so I think what I'm going to do is... I'm going to Hyperspace Punch something. Not quite sure what, but I'm going to Hyperspace Punch something. I think, okay, so obviously the Arrow Blitz comes out, 40 damage onto my Hoopa, that is just fine. I'm not going to be attacking this Talonflame because of the Bursting Balloon. I don't want him to be able to Arrow Blitz me for a knockout and get 2 more cards. And I do draw into another Psychic Energy, that is great. What I can do, Ultra Ball, get rid of this switch. And do I want to get rid of the Max Potion? I kind of want to keep that, but at the same time, what do I get rid of? Do I get rid of the energy and then draw into something else? I think that's what I'm going to do. Get rid of the energy, Ultra Ball, grab a Lunala, be able to immediately Rare Candy into that. I'll be able to Shaymin up for 4 more cards, and then play the end later once I get set up more. So I'm kind of hoping for some Max Elixirs or something to that effect. Get an Ultra Ball, which can work. I think I'm just going to go ahead and Ultra Ball, get rid of the Ultra Ball and the Trainer's Mail. Probably grab another Mewtwo. Yeah, just so I can have another attacker on the bench ready to get going. Let's attach the energy to the Mewtwo. I'm not going to Max Potion off my Hoopa just because there's really no reason to. And I even grab... I get some stuff. It's not the best, but it's something. What I am just going to do, Hyperspace Punch. And I could definitely put it on the Shaymin and Lugia to set up for good math with Shatter Shot. But I think I'm going to try to get a double knockout on the 2 Fletchling on the bench. So I'm just going to put 20 damage on both of them and hope my opponent doesn't have the cards necessary to evolve them. Although we do see the Scorched Earth, so my opponent will probably get those up. So I really probably should have put the damage on the Lugia and Shaymin. I was just enamored by the potential to take a double knockout next turn if my opponent didn't manage to evolve either of his Fletchlings. So, yeah, we're in a pretty good spot. My opponent doesn't have a draw supporter, so we'll probably just Winona. Well, I know they have a VS Seeker because we just saw that they have one. So I think my opponent would Winona in order to be able to get the Fletchlings out of... Yeah, the Fletchlings out of range of being Hyperspace Punch knocked out. But either way, alright, so my Hoopa is going to go down this turn anyway to a Flare Blitz. And this is going to be a little bit of a problem. Yeah, that's going to definitely cause a problem because my Mewtwo's will... I mean, I'll have to get 6 energy on board in order to one-shot the Talon, which, I mean, I've done. I've definitely gotten 6 energy on the board. But at the same time, I don't want to... I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket like that in case my opponent manages to get a Giovanni's Scheme plus a Flare Blitz to knock out my Mewtwo if I don't have a Fighting Fury Belt on it. Basically, I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket so that I leave myself vulnerable to a knockout, which would screw me over. And okay, my opponent does just Winona, get the 20 damage onto both the Fletchinders, and my Hoopa will go down. My opponent gets the energy right back due to the burning energy. I'm going to send up my Lunala because I do have the Float Stone on it, and here's what I can do. I have all the Pokemon on board that I need, so I really don't need any more bench spaces. What I think I'm going to do, well, obviously first I'm going to play the energy onto my Mewtwo, and then I'm going to Parallel City, but put myself down to 3 bench spaces, reduce the damage done to me by my opponent's attacks, and then I'm going to put my opponent down to 5 cards. I mean, they already had 5, and wow, that was gorgeous. That was absolutely terrific. And I draw into 3 Max Elixirs, so it really doesn't matter what I put them on. I'm just going to get the energy on board, and if I can hit all 3 of these, that will be absolutely phenomenal. And I'm 2 for 2. Can I go 3 for 3? Yes, I can. That is amazing. I'm going to be able to hit this Talonflame for some really, really solid damage. I'm not going to put all of my Psychic Energy onto my Mewtwo, just in the case that my opponent has a Giovanni Scheme plus a Counter Stadium. So I really don't want to have to worry about that. Actually, I'm going to put 4 energy on the Mewtwo. I'm going to put 4 energy on the Mewtwo, not 5, just so I still have an energy on board. That way I can hit for 60 next turn if my opponent wants to. Well, if my opponent manages to knock me out, I'll be able to hit for 60, which will knock out my opponent's Talonflame, at which point I'll be in a much better position. So we do see the Evo Soda. My opponent will be able to get yet another Talonflame going, which is going to be a little bit problematic. I'm going to need to start taking some knockouts if I want to manage to win this game. My opponent does play Professor Birch's Observations, and of course they get heads. I do not like that card just because, I mean, N is better than it in almost every single way, except for the fact that N can give your opponent a new hand, but I don't know, I just think N completely outclasses Birch's Observations, and there's a reason you never see it in, like, top-level competitive play. My opponent will go ahead and attach a Bursting Balloon and Flare Blitz, so that is a great situation for my opponent, not great for me. However, little does he realize I have a Lysandre in my hand. I'm going to move my damage back, or not my damage, I'm going to move the energy back onto the bench to Mewtwo. I'm going to go ahead and Lysandre in the Shaymin and damage swap in order to take 2 prizes and also heal off my Mewtwo completely. I mean, this really isn't like exactly how this deck is supposed to work, because you generally want to like move the energy off to Max Potion, but hey, it definitely works, and there's more than one way to heal off a Mewtwo because of damage change. I do draw into another Mewtwo and an energy. My opponent will not be able to knock me out this turn, and he is just going to Skyla. I wonder what form, maybe another Bursting Balloon, that way I will get knocked out if I want to attack the Talonflame. Nope, just Skylas for a Sycamore for next turn. Will be able to Flare Blitz me, knock me out, or not knock me out, get a lot of damage on me. And this Talonflame is proving to be quite a pain in the butt. I do get a VS Seeker, so I'm going to be able to VS Seeker in a Talonflame or a Fletchinder or the Volcanion, heal off the Mewtwo again, and go from there. So this is an excellent position. I could Sycamore. I could definitely grab a Sycamore, but I think the play is to Lysandre in order to heal off Mewtwo. My opponent sees that I'm going to be able to do that again and get even more damage on the board and healed off of Mewtwo. So I'm really just, yeah, I was in such a great position. Damage change was the MVP attack of the game, and Mewtwo came through, and that's exactly what the deck is supposed to do. Load up energy, move it around to use what attacks when you need to hit for certain amounts, and I mean, this deck still 100% needs a new expansion, but for the time being, this was as good as I could come up with, and it actually works kind of well if you can get set up. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff, and this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.